Let's change it to world mode. We're going to go to world, and now we want to go into the render. So right now we just have the basic cube. Actually, let's go in here and let's just reset the value. So let's just exit this, click new, and principal DSF, that's fine. We have the little light right here. We're going to delete the little light, X delete. And we're going to create a sky environment, a sky texture. So real quick, let's add a Shift A. We're going to do a sun, G, RR. That looks pretty good. Let's also add a plane, Shift A, mesh plane, S, GZ, and let's just do S, and let's just keep going outwards until it's like all the way through. So that looks pretty good. Let's also change this. There we go. We have a pretty nice shadow. If we go to camera view, shortcut is on the numpad, click 0 or click the projector unit icon. Looks pretty decent. Let's click on our camera, our X. So you got double tap X. Now GZ, move it downwards. And that looks pretty good. So now we can actually see the sky. But notice, right, we're in world, so we're in the shading workspace. This is a node editor. So object, if we select the cube, we can see that. Now if we go to world, we're seeing the world, the actual setup for the world. So if I click here on color, I can actually change the color of this. So just a really basic sky. Probably look, I don't know, something like that. But notice that it completely changes everything else. So if we click on our sun, strength, let's boost it to 2 and give it a little yellow hue. And by giving it a little yellow hue, we can actually see it gives it more of a whitish look because the colors are mixing. So if you remember the three or 2-point lighting system, right? The two main lights is you have the key light and the fill light. The key light is the sun right here. So I can rotate this and it's the sun. The fill light you can actually see as the shadow. Now this looks pretty decent. If you were, let's say, doing cartoon and stuff, you can probably get away with it. But if you want something a bit more realistic, we have to do a bit of setup with the nodes in order to actually get a pretty realistic looking sky. So let's do that. So the first thing that we need is a texture coordinate. So imagine there's a invisible UV sphere around us. We have to map where the texture should be. So that's what we need to do. We're going to do Shift A, search. We're going to search for texture, TAEX, TUR. And if we go down here, we should have the texture coordinate. It's on the very bottom right here. Texture coordinate. Click here, drag it here. Perfect. We can see we have the generated, normal, UV, object, camera, window, reflection. So you can actually get pretty advanced with some of these. Next up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the mapping. So Shift A, search, and I'm going to do MAPP. I have mapping. Perfect. Generated is going to vector. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shift A, search, and I'm going to do color ramp. Just grab both of these, holding Shift, drag it over. Here's the color ramp. Can connect it to the color. And we're going to go here to the vector. And hopefully what you can see is we have it as at an angle. That's because I forgot to add something. We need to add another node. So we're going to Shift A, search. We're searching for gradient. Here's gradient texture. Shove it here. And now we have a pretty nice, there we go. Shift B, go in here. So we can see we have the black, we have the white, and that looks pretty good, right? So that looks pretty decent. Cool. So we have the color ramp, and this is the pretty, kind of the basics, right? We have the texture coordinate, we have the mapping, gradient texture, color ramp. So what we're going to do is we need to flip this around. So here is the y-axis, and we're going to change this to 90, and that looks good. But the problem is that we have the black on the very bottom. So to fix that, and select both of these, Shift D, go here, drag this around. Instead of y90, we're going to have this as -90. Drag generated to vector. We're going to search for we're going to search for math. Have math, and we have an add. So we're going to connect the color to here, color to here, and now for the color ramp, it's going to connect it to this guy. Okay, let's just move this guy out a little bit, and let's hide this plane right here. So we're just going to do H. If you notice that these are mirror, now if you don't have it as a mirror, which is fine, it's kind of a preference if you want, what we can do is we can add a map range. But before that, to actually show that it's going to be updated, we'll go here to the color ramp, click on the plus icon, and this is going to create another color stopper. So this guy right here, we're going to click on it, and let's just add a blue. So we have the black and the blue. And what should happen is we should see like blue and white if we do it correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the color range in order to prevent it from being as a mirror. Shift A, search. Let me do color. Oh, sorry. Let me search for range. Here we go, map range. Here. So there's one. So we're going to change the min to be 0.5, and then change max to 0. Okay, and we're going to copy this guy. Oops. What we're going to do is we're going to do Shift D, move it down here, connect it to this one as well. I know there's a lot of nodes, so let's just go over it. We have the texture coordinate here. It's connected to two different mapping nodes. So texture coordinate is search texture. If you scroll down, you'll have the texture coordinate. Mapping, search, mapping. For one, the mapping, it's the rotation 90. Other mapping, it's -90 for the Y rotation. So that's a mapping. Both of these are connected to the gradient texture. So Shift A, search, gradient texture. Both of these are separately connected to the map range. One of them is from 0 to 1, and then 0.5 to 0. The other one is from 0 to 1 and 0 to 0.5. Both of them are inside a math node. Even though it says add, it's really confusing. This is like one of the things I wish Blender did, is actually add a math in here so you can know. So Shift A, search. If you search for math, M-A, here we go, math. It's on, even though this is the math node, and it says add. And the reason why is because we can do a bunch of different operations here. And then all this is connected to the color ramp here. So I know that's a lot, but now we have the proper mapping. So if we go to our camera here, okay, so we can see what's top and what's bottom. So let's go in here a little bit. Okay, so now what we can do is we can actually play around with the color ramp in order to get a really nice sky. So we have the little stoppers right here. So let's just go ahead and delete this guy, delete the black one, and so we just have the pure white. So let's go through it. So in order for us to go through this properly, we're actually going to have to essentially simulate the actual layers of the atmosphere. And there's a bunch of different layers. So for example, the exosphere, right? So this is the very top one. This is going to be a very dark blue. So this is the topmost of the atmosphere. So it's kind of here, it's dark. And the reason why it's kind of darker than the other ones is on the basis that, you know, you have space, and space is pitch black. So we're going to click the plus button, go here. The next one is the thermosphere. This one's kind of a bluish color. Click on the plus again. Oops. Did not mean to do that. Minus one out here, plus, and we're just going to drag it out here. Next up is the mesosphere. It's a bit lighter. Looks pretty, a bit darker. Looks pretty good. So we have the exosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, now stratosphere. Click on plus again. Drag this guy out a little bit more. And this one is going to be much brighter. Where's a bluish color too. A bit whiter as well. Stratosphere, okay. And the very last one is the troposphere. So this is a cayenne blue. Looks something like that. Maybe a bit better. Okay. And then plus, go here. And if you ever look at the sky, it's usually, you know, really far away off in the distance. It's just white. Just kind of has that white look. Okay. RGB, go here. One. All right, that looks pretty good. And the very last one is we want to actually do the land. What should the land look like? So let's go here and let's just say it's like brown. Cool. So let's just scroll out. Okay. So it looks like I accidentally have these flipped. What we can do real quick is here, I can change this to -90, and then this guy to 90. Did I change it? There you go, and that fixed it. So a little boo-boo is just change this guy to -90, change that to 90. Let's go here, go to the camera, and that looks pretty good. So let's just incorporate the plane again. So I'm going to go over here to the scene collection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of offset everything so that way it kind of matches up. Let's do this. Here is the black bit. Okay, so land goes like right there. So it's almost in the center. Let's go here, here. Here's the white. And then here is the ground. It's just going to go a little bit below it. Here's the white bit. Now here's the bluish color. And cool. So that is looking pretty good. But the next thing we want to do is right now it's on linear. So let's go change this. And what we want to do is we want to do the ease. So ease will kind of make it a bit more blurry, just kind of make it look a bit better. So the white's still too harsh. Go. Let's scroll this down a little bit. There we go. And look at that. We have a really nice looking sky. Looks pretty decent. So you can play around with this, you know, to make it look better or not. But notice that if we change the strength to 0, this is what it looks like now. And the shadow is pitch black. So that's the difference between the moon and the earth for lighting. So in the earth, we have the fill light. The fill light is the sky. That's what's giving the shadow that's illuminating everything else. And the key light is the sun. Now, what's really cool about the setup is you can actually create an alien environment as well. So before that, let's just go ahead and save this. File, save. And let's save this in a safe location. I'm going to call this Earth Sky. Save blend file. Now let's make a alien sky. So make sure you save this one first. And then once you do, we're going to do File, Save As. And I'm going to call this Alien Sky. Save as. Okay. So now following the rules of how the atmosphere works. But before that, let's actually talk about why does the atmosphere, why is the sky blue? Well, the reason why the sky is blue is because of the gases in our sky. And what happens is when the light hits it from our sun and also the radiation from it, it actually emits light. It actually shows color. Think of a neon sign. The sky, from the gases and the light interacting with it, is essentially a giant neon sign. And the way a neon sign works is you have a gas and then you have electricity that goes through it that excites the gas and emits light. So if a planet has different gas, the sky is going to look different. So let's give it a greenish color. So let's create the No Man's Sky. So let's do kind of a Kion here, green. Green is like here. Sky goes here, here, and here. And just like that, now we have like a alien environment. So this I would consider to be like an alien sky. So let's just go ahead and save this.